Morning, everybody. How are we doing? Hope you're all doing fantastically well. I was going to have a bit of a day off today, but some news broke last night, which piqued my interest. John Townley mentioned something about Buendia from Argentina, and it made me think, is this the game changer? Now, what do I know? So I did a little bit of research. Obviously, with me previously working for Reach, we had a bit of a connection with Birmingham Live as well. And from an extremely good source, I have been told that apparently there is no long-term future for Buendia at Aston Villa. Now, the interesting part of this is this same individual told me that there's no interest from the Premier League, only abroad and the Championship. Now, what did we hear? What do we know? Angus Kinnear has mentioned several times that Leeds United were in for Buendia last January, Fabio Carvalho last January. Was that just hearsay? Was that just to keep us fans happy that we are doing stuff? We tried FC, as some of you coin. But this would be interesting. Is this the game changer signing? Is this the outlier, the anomaly that Leeds go for in that number 10? What does this mean for Brendan Aronson? Is this a Jorginho Rutter-esque signing, player in the Championship? Does this mirror Pablo Hernandez in terms of impact at this level? There's a question. Buendia has suffered massively with injury. He doesn't want to drop down to the Championship. I know that, okay? I'm delivering that information. I'm sure you guys are well aware of that. That's been reported before. That apparently was why Leeds didn't get him last January. But from what I've been told, that is still the case. But what are Buendia's options right now? There's talk of River Plate, him going back to his home nation, playing for River Plate, playing right at the top of the Argentinian league. But what does that matter right now? Unai Emery has come out 12 hours ago and said that a loan might be the best move for him. But from what I understand, Villa want to get rid of him permanently. Now, what do we know with the rest of the Championship? Loans to obligation. Loans to obligation. Loans to obligation. The obligation, if that team gets into the Premier League, Tom Cannon being the absolute examples right now. 11 goals in the Championship, has played for Stoke, has done extremely well. Burnley want him. Loan to obligation. Sunderland want him. Loan to obligation. Sheffield United appear to have had a breakthrough with a loan to an obligation, but with an initial loan fee. So, for me, he might not be playing in the Championship. He might be playing in the Championship for the next 40% of his life. And to be honest, if you're Buendia, you've got to prove to a team like Leeds United that you can do it. Can you stay injury-free? Are you the Buendia of yesteryear that we saw at Norwich? Now, where I think there genuinely could be something, the manager impacts, okay? Buendia and Farke were said to be extremely close, okay? Extremely close. We've seen recently, slightly different situation when you bring context into it, but Lorient have managed, obviously Enzo Lafay previously, managed by Sunderland manager Regis Lebris. Now, the connection there's no way Enzo Lafay goes to Sunderland if Regis isn't there. Regis brings him in. He is the connection. That is the star player. This is kind of where you look at the Daniel Farke effect and you're thinking, have we got some sort of pull here? How can Leeds, with ambitious owners, not convince Buendia and his representatives? When Leeds are top of the table now, it's so important that we remain top of the table as well, because you've got to have that convincing factor. But if Buendia is to come to Leeds United, or if there is an option there, what do we do? Because then, quite simply, Brendan Aronson comes out the side. 100%. Buendia is on a different level to him. But Brendan's having a really good season. Brendan is a favourite of the manager. But in the summer, the manager was talking about a number 10 coming in. Now, we mentioned at the very beginning of the window, do we need a 10? For me, no. Okay? For me, you have options. Some of you guys disagree. A lot of you guys disagree. I don't mind Leeds interchanging that number 10 between a lot of the options that we have right now for the foreseeable. If Brendan Aronson is injured, if Peru's injured, do we have to go get a number 9 if he gets injured? Well, no. He's never injured for Leeds. He's been available 74 times out of 76 selections in his time at Leeds United. Barely injured at Swansea. The guy doesn't get injured. Touch wood. However, with Brendan Harrison, do you go out and do another one? Well, you've got to look at his minutes. You've got to look at Emi Buendia coming in. Leeds would have to turn round to Emi Buendia and say, well, you're playing every match. 100%. 100%. Where Emi Buendia is in his career right now, he's made an impact in a 4-2-3-1 system at Aston Villa. The injuries have killed him a little bit. Villa have gone and invested. If he's to come down to the Championship, which he doesn't want to do, Leeds have got to convince him. You play every single minute. There's an obligation there for you if we get to the Premier League. And there has to be that in there because he wants to play at the Premier League. And ultimately, we have to have a little bit of luck if we are going in with this transfer. Now, where this, in terms of other clubs not coming in for him in the Premier League, because he's going to go to another Premier League club. Now, where this, as I've said, feeds maybe into Leeds United's favour is the notion of Daniel Farke. Can he convince Buendia to come down? Can he convince Buendia that Leeds are going to get promoted? And then we'll have an obligation to sign him. But Emi Buendia's got to stay fit. And if he doesn't stay fit, which he hasn't done at Aston Villa on a regular occurrence, how can he demand this? How can he demand staying in the Premier League? I know his ability is where it's at. I understand that. But Leeds will be taking a risk because we'd have to pay, according to the source that I've spoken to, if we are to get him on loan with an obligation, we have to pay a significant part of his salary. We'd have to pay a loan fee up front, which we've had with Jed Spence before, over $1 million, which didn't quite work out. Options on the table. But is this the one? Now, as I've mentioned before with the number 10, do we need him? I don't think so. But is he an X-factor game changer signing in that number 10? Well, I mean, he's about as good as it gets. Now, can he play in the number 10? For Farke, he played wide right. Okay, more of an inverted right. But Farke, in my opinion, in this team will put him in the number 10, 100%, because he's not going to put him on the right, in my opinion. I think Norwich were a little bit weaker, wide right, when Buendia was wide right, but for Aston Villa, he's played in the 10. I think we'd sign him as a 10. There's no way he's going to come and play on the right, I don't think, if he was to come to Leeds United. So you can sort of kibosh that. So I want to know your thoughts, but it's up in the air. I know a lot of you will be like, Connor, we don't need number 10. You said we didn't need number 10. Yeah, I did, you know. But I'm not going to die on that hill. If a game changer comes in, you know, one of which, do I think we need it right now? Is it a necessity? I don't think so. However, if someone becomes available of which you go, okay. You've got to consider it. Of course you have. Of course you have. Emi Buendia, one of the best players the Championship's ever seen. Of course you've got to consider it. Of course your mindset is very much of the, yeah, okay. If it's a mid-term player who comes in and you're very much like, he's not going to get minutes, Harrison's going to be there, we've got a nice interchangeable number 10, but Emi Buendia stands on his own for me. And the interesting bit about it is Leeds have been interested before, confirmed essentially by the club in Anchors Kinnear. But they'll want an obligation, Villa. They don't see him as having a long-term future at the club. Emi Buendia doesn't want to move down, but can Daniel Farke be the link? Interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. See you in a bit.